Okay, this is the working demonstration video for the Craftsman 10-inch professional radial arm saw. So very clean unit here. These units are the most versatile units there are. If you can see here, there's a good 8 inches of expansions as far as this top arm will raise and lower. Okay, it's got a brand new table. I haven't secured it in place, but I've just kind of put it in here for demonstration purposes. Okay, on this side an arbor, so you can do all kinds of arbor operations with this thing. You know, probably 50 or 60 different arbor operations. And then you've got, you know, your cutting operations on this side, you know, ripping, whatever. Now, when you have one of these in the shop, if you want to hook up a vacuum system, you can hook it up here so that you're going to be working dust-free with this unit. Carriage lock is here. Okay, what that does is it locks the carriage in place. So if you're feeding material into there, you know, that's going to be locked. There is also a feed on here that has a few different speeds here. I don't know if I can capture that. Oh, here it is. Okay, so you have, you know, an A, a B, and a C speed. So you can kind of see that. So this machine actually has 2 motors on it, one for the feed and then one for the actual saw. Saw's 2.5 horsepower, so it makes a lot of power. I mean, there's enough saw here to where you can cut a board, you know, something like one of these. If you're into construction, you know, most of the boards that you're going to cut are going to be, you know, like this size or smaller. Like this is, I think this is a 2x6 here. Anyway, I don't want to use the table for the demonstration because this table is brand new. There's not a single cut on this thing. So I'm going to swap out the table before I do any cutting operations, but I kind of wanted to walk through some of the stuff that you're capable of doing. So first of all, you know, you've got a tilt on this thing that is, I'm trying to figure out how I can do this with the camera in my hand. Okay, so I just decided to go stationary with this thing. You know, these saws here, this is kind of like having a compound miter and a table saw all put in one. You have various swings and tilts and stuff like that. So there's safety locks on these things that lock it into a 90-degree position. This scale here is actually variable. So depending on where you started, you know, you can set it at one starting point, go another 15 degrees, you know, figure out your next stop or whatever you got to do if you're cutting progressively or whatever you're doing. This here is actually what allows the arm to swing. So, you know, if you wanted to go an aggressive tilt, you can go 45 degrees this way. Here, I don't have, like I said, I don't have this secured to the table. Well, actually, you can go beyond 45 degrees, but you know, 45 degrees is going to be your normal thing. Otherwise, you're going to go the opposite way when you use one of these. The head here actually tilts. This is the lock here. Okay, so the head tilts on this thing. And what it enables you to do is, you have multiple tilts on this, okay? So it enables you to, hang on a second here. Oh, here we go, okay. It enables you to tilt this blade as much as 90 degrees, okay, in that direction. I don't know what you would use that for. Usually you're gonna go 90 degrees the other way and use the arbor that's on this end right here. And I showed you that arbor previously, okay? Lock this here, and it locked into position. You probably heard a snap. Okay, let me bring this back up. Okay, so it just locked into position. Okay, you can go 90 degrees that way. You can tilt this so that it will go up to 90 degrees this way. Okay, so let's say you're going to do a ripping operation, which normally you'll have this fence here. So, you know, you're going to rip wood this way, you can go that way, you know, rip feed, and it tells you what their feed direction is. The blades have to be put in there where the lettering is on the outside, and they rotate in this direction. So they rotate that way, you know, so you're going to be feeding from this side that way. Okay, everything's pretty much straightforward on this thing. And as I said, you've got your speed selection here. So let's say you're cutting for mica, and the speed of your cut is very critical. You know, you're going to sit on either A, B, or C. that's going to give you your speed if you decide to use the tracking mechanism that guides your speed through the cut. You know, some things are critical of the speed that you cut them in, so that's why that's there. Okay, this is the most versatile saw on the market. There is no saw like this. I mean, like I said, it's kind of a combination of a compound miter saw and a table saw with more tilts and swings than you can shake a stick at. This is how you raise and lower the platform. So as you can see, it's going down, you know, it's going up. It'll go up to the point that I had it up to. Okay, I'm going to do some cutting operations on here in a bit, but I just wanted to kind of demonstrate everything. The scales, you know, they all go to 90, so however far you want to go, you know, you can go up to 90 degrees on any cut. Okay, here's the carriage lock. This locks the carriage. So if you're going to use the tracking, you know, if you're going to use the automatic tracking, you're going to actually go, you're going to lock it in position, and then it's going to track automatically. Okay, your speed. And again, this is the dust pickup for whatever device you want to use to pick up dust with. Okay, there's a 16-inch scale on here, but it actually goes a little bit past 16 inches because this here is about 16 inches, and it'll actually rip through this entire piece of wood from end to end, no problem. And it'll rip as deep as this is a 10.5-inch blade, so it'll I'm sorry, it's a 10-inch blade. It'll rip as deep as 4.5 to 4 3/4 inches, just going by the depth of the blade. Okay, so everything's there. And then, as I said, all your arbor operations. So the other thing about this is you can do, let's say you want to use this and you want to do some jointing or whatever, or you know, do some crown molding. You know, there's a number of different cuts you can do depending on what types of cutters you have. This is kind of a book that gives you a guide on some of the cuts, but there's a lot more available in this, obviously. This saw is capable of grooving, notching, rabbiting, dadoing. You can do pattern, you know, you can do different patterns. You can set it up to do patterns, shaping, joining, planing operations. It cuts wood, aluminum, veneer, formica, brick. You know, you can do circle rabbiting if you want. You know, you can set up a table on here and do circle cuts with a rabbet. You know, if you want to do something fancy like that. So you can, you know, basically that's shaping. You know, you can cut diamonds. You can do cove cuts. You know, tenons for joining, tongue and groove, molding shapes. Like I said, you know, scallops, bowl cuts, freeze, taper ripping. You know, step jigging, pattern grooving, spread kerfing, you know, whatever, or spaced kerfing, whatever you decide to do, that's going to be, you know, this saw is going to give you the capability of doing that. There's no other saw on the market that would be capable of all the different operations with the type of power that this thing is offering for, you know, less than $1,000. Okay, so I'm going to come back and do some cuts here as a demonstration. All right, so now I'm going to do a demonstration cut with this saw. I just kind of rigged up a vacuum system. This isn't actually the way you would normally do it, because normally you'd have a lot thicker of a hose, but I just hooked up. I didn't have the hose here with me. It's in my other shop, and that's a long ways from here. So I just kind of taped the hose into place here. You know, normally you're going to have a hose that's like twice that thick and draw twice as much air, but I hooked it up onto the snout here, which is normally, you know, normally you're going to have a hose going onto this that's going to be wider, and this is going to go on top here, obviously. It's going to draw in air in here. If you have one of these vacuum setups, you can set up multiple stations for vacuum. Usually there's a splitter at the top that will enable you to go 2 different ways with vacuum in a shop. So here it is. Anyway, I wanted to also point out something that I didn't point out earlier. Let me put this aside here just so I don't leave it up there when I do the cut. Anyway, the scales on this saw here on both sides of the arm are different. So on this one here, you're going to have front and rear fence positions, okay, with the blade out rip here. And then on the other side, you're going to have your blade in rip as the top scale, and then you're going to have a rear fence position here, okay. So just to kind of show the difference in the scales, and obviously they're for different purposes. And then I don't know if I showed all the scales yesterday, so I might as well show that here. These scales here, the top scale goes to 60 on either side, okay, So that's 120 degrees for the arm, for the swing arm, and then this is movable. So depending on where you're indexing this will depend on what movements you're going to make and so forth. It's all set up for precision, obviously. And then this scale here has, you know, 90 on this side, 90 on that side. And this 90 here is for the saw side. That 90 there is for the arbor side. So whatever tool you put on here. So you can set up everything super precisely. Control speed adjustments are shown on this here. You know, that's the control speed for what we were talking about. The, you know, the control of the how far or how fast the sweep of the saw comes across the wood, and that is, you know, critical depending on what you're cutting. So, you know, like, it's unlikely that you'll get into a lot of that unless you're doing countertop work where you're working with formica and very brittle materials like that, or maybe very thin sheets of balsa wood, stuff like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a demonstration cut. So let me get this all set up. It's going to cut the width of this wood. Oh yeah, this wood is 7 inches across by 1.5 inches thick. So it's thicker than what most people are going to cut, but I just wanted to do that just to demonstrate with that. And I took the table off of here because I didn't want to mark the table. That was a brand new table, so I don't want to mark the table. So I just kind of jerry-rigged something here just so I could do this cut. So as you can see, it's not super precise. I'm going to have to hold it down here because I don't have a clamp that's going to go across there. So I'm going to hold it down there with my hand when I'm sweeping across with the blade. So let me just go ahead and do the demonstration rip, and we're good to go here. So I think we're all set. Okay. So I'm going to start by turning on the air, the vacuum here, which is not going to draw nearly enough air to suck all the dust out of there, but it'll suck out most of it. And then I'll turn on the saw after that, just because I don't want to pop a circuit breaker here. So here we go. Having to do this rip left-handed, and I'm going to hold on to this while I'm cutting here. Like I said, this is not normally the way you're going to be cutting, but that's the way I'm doing it for demonstration purposes. Normally the wood would be held against the fence. That's the way it's normally done. As you can see, we got a nice rip out of this wood here. Super clean here. Well, you know, I'm not able to hold it perfectly, so it's not going to be the perfect cut, but you can kind of see how it's done. And that's the demonstration of the Craftsman 10-inch radial saw. Thanks for watching the video.